Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled, another week with myself, Mercedes Schlapp.
And Matt Schlapp.
So Schlapp, we've gone through the graduation of two of our daughters this week. So this is a big graduation week for the Schlapp household. It was actually really wonderful.
It's wonderful. Yeah, we have I guess someone going to college, which seems really strange. So we have all the interesting emotions you have that when your kid goes away and doesn't live with you anymore, which is strange. Then we have a rising...
Yeah, we don't really know what to expect, really. We're just looking at her going, okay, you're our science experiment. Let's see how this goes.
And then we have another kid going into high school. So, as you all know, as my mother always told me, it goes awfully fast.
It does. And we had all the Cubans in town, and Matt's mom's in town, too. So it's been... needless to say, we're a little tired.
Yeah,
but we are so excited to be with you all.
We're tired, but we're pumped.
Show.
And we're pumped about CPAC Dallas, which you all know about. I think you've seen all these great announcements of speakers. I got a list in front of me, and we'll put it on the screen so you can see it. But let me just read some of these. Of course, President Trump, Governor Abbott, Governor Noem, Rick Grinnell, Ambassador Robert O'Brien, your former colleague Ben Carson, David Bernhardt, Matt Whitaker, who's a pretty good lawyer. Just kidding, great guy. Senator Bill Hagerty, Senator Rick Scott, Roger Williams, Ronnie Jackson from Texas, Congressman Byron Donalds from Florida, Andy Biggs, a great conservative, Glenn Beck, whose voice is so important, Governor Scott Walker, Sarah Carter, James O'Keefe, Dana Lash, KT McFarland, Gordon Chang,
that's great.
and others. So
it's great because this is what we've got, right? We had CPAC Orlando, our big national conference, and we're doing CPAC in Dallas, Texas, another big national conference, which will bring people from across the country. Because I know in the summertime you kind of want to be like lying down by a beach, by a pool, but there is no time to waste. We got to keep working together to save this great country and to fight against these socialist policies. But let's talking about the Biden policies, Matthew.
Yeah.
Kamala, the border czar, she's also your vice president, Kamala Harris. She's been having some really big screw-ups.
Well, she's the border czar, but she thinks the border is the EU because she equates the border to Europe, which is really two different things, right? The president's going over to Europe to, have his first time on the international stage, but he put her in charge of our southern border, but she doesn't seem to see it as an emergency. She just sees it as just another demarcation between countries.
Well, it's really interesting because the Guatemala president actually blamed Biden for the border crisis. She was down in Guatemala for a visit, and I really think that there's a sense that they can't get a hold on what's happening in the border.
Yeah.
And really, she says so. In Kamala Harris in her speech in Guatemala said, "Don't come." I don't know. She said it in English. She probably should have said it in Spanish. But don't come to the United States. But quite frankly, it follows with a parenthesis saying, "Don't come," but the border is open, so come right on in.
The problem with their policies is she can say "don't come," but they all know when they do come, they'll be greeted with open arms. They'll get a hotel room. They'll get Obamacare. They'll be allowed to evade any legal enforcement of the laws. So, talk about a mixed message. I actually think it's good that she actually said that. What it shows is not that the Biden policy is changing, but how terrible the politics are for them. The politics of an open border are terrible for Democrats, too. The only people who like an open border are these globalists and the real hardcore of the Democratic Party, which unfortunately occupies its entire base now. But as far as running for office, look at Henry Cuellar. Look at all those mayors that have been picked up.
That's right.
In the state of
Republican
Texas,
mayors and
in
Republican
Democrat
Hispanic
areas.
Mayors. Yeah.
So, the politics of an open border doesn't work. Bad for the country and bad for the Democratic Party. And there's a poll that came out amongst congressional staffers. So these are people that work for the House and the Senate. 75% or so of them believe the Republicans will take over the House.
Wow.
So you have these corporations that are doubling down on socialism with the wackos from the Democratic Party, while the staffers, both Democrat and Republican, think the gig is up.
Right.
That the Republicans will take back the majority. And think about that. That's less than 2 years.
What's your expectation with Biden in Europe?
When he's our president overseas, I root for him. Even though I don't like his policies, I want him to do a good job over there.
Right.
What I worry about is because his performances are so unsteady that he projects weakness to Xi in China and to Putin in Russia. But I'm hoping that it goes well. And I'm hoping that he doesn't go out there and just do whatever France wants him to do, because that's what Democrats like to do. They just go along with the Europeans.
Well, apparently the French President Macron, he got slapped. Did you know that?
No.
He got slapped. So there's a lot of
Like somebody just walked
like
up and
literally
hit
like
him?
yeah, smacked him on the face.
Wow.
So
Was it his mother? No?
ex-wife.
Oh, sorry, that's
no,
his
the
wife.
wife. The
That's
wife.
his wife.
Oh,
That's not his
stop.
mother, that's his wife.
Yes. Well, if they're in love, so be it to the French. Okay, so, but we've got a great guest coming up. Who's coming up?
Larry O'Connor.
I can't believe it. Radio host, now morning radio
love Larry
host of
O'Connor.
WMAL, and one of our CPAC friends who does such a great job hosting those dinners that we have that usually
That
don't
never
end.
end.
They never end. but
No,
it
he's
is
funny. He's a really funny guy. He's a great talent, and he has the morning show in the Washington, D.C. area that so many of you listen to, and he gets all the best guests.
Yes.
And it's how I wake up in the morning, listening to Larry O'Connor.
Yeah, it's better than NPR. Stay with us. So this is awkward because Matt Schlapp left the building.
Yeah,
But
he
Larry
saw
O'Connor
me
came
show
in.
up and he just stormed off. It was like, hell with it if O'Connor's here.
Well, the reality is,
He said heck with it
Larry
instead.
showed up. Larry showed up in the office with headsets because I'm going to help co-host next
true.
week on the morning radio show, and I think Schlapp is traumatized because he's worried he has to wake up the kids in the morning.
That is the bottom line here. It is, hi, Larry O'Connor with WMAL Radio in Washington,
They know who
D.C.
you
Can
are,
I do the
Larry.
intro
Yeah,
here,
please do the intro.
And you know, that is his problem. It's because he
It's
knows
the
what a
children?
great thing it's going to be. He doesn't want to do any work around the house. And by the way, you're so passive aggressive. It's like
Right.
you're not going to approach him and say, you know what, Matt, you need to like shoulder. We got 5 kids for
Right.
God's sake. I've
Right.
been doing all the work for 18 years
That's
now. It's
true.
time for you to step up. Instead, you just say, hey, Matt, I'm doing the morning show with Larry next week.
See
a
you
couple
later,
of days.
alligator.
Exactly.
That's what I'm
Figure it
doing.
out, Schlapp.
Exactly.
Figure it out.
Exactly. But Larry.
But we don't want to share that. That's dirty laundry. You don't need to hear
No.
that.
But
You
Larry
didn't come here to
was
CPAC Live for that.
big CPAC friend of ours. He
Yeah.
does you hosted the dinner.
The dinner now, like 4 years in a row now.
Yeah,
It's
when-
very fun.
and-
I never get to eat. They say, hey, come do the dinner. And then I realize, wait, there's no dinner for me.
No.
like,
You
you know,
fast in the evening.
Sorry,
but,
it's true. It's usually on a Friday in Lent, by the
it is
way.
just
It is.
usually-
It's really
and then we all
funny.
have
It's
to
like
eat
we're all
fish.
Catholic, and it's like, where's my sea bass?
But Larry, you
Yes.
actually are now in the morning show. You
That's
went
right.
from the afternoon show to the morning
I
show.
was doing afternoon drive all during the
Why?
Trump administration. You know what? It's funny. I don't actually mind the hours that much. But
Really?
remind me a year from now after, because I've only been doing it for a few weeks. But
Okay.
it's a brand new morning show on
Right.
WMAL, which is the dominant talk radio station in Washington
Mm-hmm.
D.C. And it's called O'Connor and Company, and it's exciting and it's fun. And morning shows are very important. You know, let's face it. We're conservatives. We're Republicans. We're not in the White House.
Right.
We don't have the majority in the House. We don't have the majority in the Senate. We're seeing our schools being overrun by ideologies that we don't agree with. It's hard to be in a good mood. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to be upbeat.
I don't know. I stay
right
upbeat.
now.
I try my best.
Well,
don't you?
and that's what we try
That's
to do
what
with
I
our
do.
morning show. We try to, we got to give people some sort of upbeat message and get people going every day, because in the long run, we are actually doing pretty well in this
That's right.
country. We're doing better than most people want to think, but we're just being overrun by the media in other respects, and they're trying to tell us that we're on the way out. So that's sort of a mission with our show, is
Right.
to empower people with the news and information they need and entertain them and get them in a place
I
where they're going to be
refuse
happy.
to let the socialists bring me down. I refuse.
That's right.
I
No,
will not let
That's
AOC
how they win. That's how they
make
win.
me feel
They
depressed.
Drag
I
us
will-
down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to be the happy warriors. We
We are.
have to bring the positive message, and continue to educate people on why America is the greatest.
And that's why I went back to
in the
mornings.
World.
That's why I went back to mornings,
Okay,
because I
that
really
makes sense. That
feel like
makes
it's a
sense.
mission, and you want to start your day with a a smile.
Well,
on your
I
face.
don't think that the president who's currently in the White House is listening to your show. That would be my guess.
No,
right?
he's not. Well, first of all, he doesn't wake up that early, does he? In fact, he's napping all through the
He's
day.
napping
I think.
through the day and
Yeah.
at night, but he's off to Europe.
He is.
He's going to the G7.
The
What do we
G7.
expect
By
to
the way,
happen
did you
there?
see what he said as he was leaving?
Oh,
He
no, I
told
didn't see it.
reporters that he had been attacked by a cicada.
That
I'm
is
not
newsworthy.
joking.
Breaking
As he
news,
was
people. He was
on
attacked
his
by
way
a
to
cicada.
Andrews, and he's, well, where's the Secret Service
Can't
when
you
you
just
need
picture
them?
him
Right?
going,
You're right, exactly.
Like, it's
Dr. Joe, what is
What do
this?
I do?
She makes him call her Dr. Jill too, by the way.
Maybe
That's
it's a
their little-
robotic cicada.
Could have
Maybe
been.
it's
It was
like
a drone. That's what
Russian,
it was.
a Russian cicada.
Freaking Russians. They'd stop at nothing. That explains everything,
That
by the
explains
way.
everything. The
So the
Russian
cicada
cicada.
went after Biden, and he
Natasha.
couldn't handle it, and he was very upset.
That's what I would call a cicada. You know, have you
Absolutely.
ever observed a cicada?
Yeah, well, they're horrible
No, no,
beasts.
stop.
I hate
You guys
them.
have to
You
stop.
like these things?
No, you
They're
really,
terrible.
I mean, it is so impressive to me. One literally got on my
What's
nerves.
impressive? They can't even
they
last
have
4
orange
weeks.
eyes.
Oh,
Have
I
you
know.
noticed?
But they don't work because they don't avoid you. They dive bomb at you. They're kamikazes of the insect world.
I'm
They're
trying
horrible.
to look. I'm not a scientist, nor do I play
For
one
an
on TV.
entomologist.
But
It would be an entomologist.
Is that what
That's
it is?
a bug doctor.
it is a bug doctor.
Things I know.
So that's way too much information. But
Yeah.
the cicada, what's interesting is it's very attracted to the color white. So our front neighbor has a
Well,
white
that explains
fence.
why it went after Biden.
Well-
there is no one whiter in this country than
Be
Joe
careful.
Biden.
They're going to call you a racist after you said that.
No, it's okay. if
Or
you
the
say that.
cicadas
Can't
are
you say that?
racist.
The
Oh
cicadas
my
are
gosh,
racist.
the cicadas are
But
racist.
Biden does have white privilege. Let's face it. I mean, with all those gaffes and all of the thing, and his son using the N-word and the drugs, and he never even gets arrested, let alone go to jail. Is there any family that represents white privilege any better than the Biden?
Finally is Hunter a best-selling author already? He had that book out.
Yeah. Did anyone buy it?
It would put me to sleep.
I'm not sure
I don't
about
think
that.
he has very much to
We've
say.
gone on a tangent.
No,
here,
we did.
haven't we?
G7.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? What can we expect with Biden being in Europe?
Oh, God, what do we expect with Biden? There's nothing to expect with Biden. He does what
They're
he's
talking
told
about
to do.
vaccine sharing, so that's one of the big issues that they're going to address.
Yeah, as long as we're all vaccinated, then we can start sharing it around. Well, no, you know what? Europe is thrown down with China. They're in bed with the communists in Beijing. Let them use the Chinese vaccine.
Does it? Oh, and
right?
Russia
Why should
has
we
the
get-
approved vaccine as well. They can
That's
use
right.
the
If they
Russian
want the
vaccine as
Russian
well.
pipeline, they can also use the white. So for all of that stuff, they go ahead and get the rest. They come to us and they want free vaccines that we just spent all of our tax dollars. Thank God for the Trump administration and Operation Warp Speed. So now they want the Trump vaccine, but they want to go ahead and take Putin's oil. Is Biden Putin's puppet? By the way, have you noticed this?
puppet.
He's
That's a lot
done
of
nothing
buzz.
about the hacking of our
No,
of our
not at
pipeline.
all. No, Biden. No, Putin owns Biden. I mean,
It
do you
seems like
imagine
it.
if they would be like having a chess game? Like, who would? I mean, there is no way Biden could even keep up.
Well,
Like,
Biden would take his queen and go, king me. It's like, no, this is not checkers. Oh, good Lord, who am I dealing with here?
yeah.
Sorry, and Hunter, by the way, plays Chinese checkers because it's sort of a.
Ooh, that was
Sorry.
funny. Well, but yeah, that was funny. Oh wait, okay. So
Yes.
G7. Let's see what happens there. My understanding is that the liberal media is playing it up as this is our moment to shine because
Right.
Trump, destroyed all those relationships, which is kind of completely inaccurate.
Oh, that's completely
People
untrue.
these leaders were afraid of President Trump. President Trump was the one that dictated the agenda.
Which is a good
And
thing,
was
by
good-
the way.
good with our
Everyone
allies.
says, "Oh, the rest of the world loves us again." I don't want them to. I want them to respect us.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Talking about respect, I think we have a big issue brewing at the border.
Oh, you think?
And the lack. Oh, that's funny. The lack of respect, I think, of Kamala Harris
Yeah.
not even tackling this issue or like haphazardly tackling this issue.
So-
Going to Guatemala first.
Yeah.
Visiting with the Mexican president, but no show at the border.
I've been wanting to ask you about this, Mercy, and this is what happens when we start talking to each other because I want to start interviewing you, and I know this is your show, but
It's
you've
okay.
you've worked in multiple White Houses
That's right.
before, and dare I say, and I'm not claiming one White House versus it, but generally speaking, White Houses they have their factions, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong there? There's little
No, true.
and they're sometimes battling with each other and trying
Mm-hmm.
to one up each other. Somewhere along the line in the first month of the Biden administration, in that White House, somebody came to POTUS and said, "Hey, I've got an idea. Put Kamala in charge of the border." Now,
They
this-
must not like Kamala very much.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
They're like, take her down.
because first of all, he did all of
Can
these.
I tell you who I think it is?
Yes, this is exactly what I'm going for.
Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, that makes perfect
Take
sense.
her down.
You gotta get Kamala out of the way.
He comes up in his scooter, his electric scooter, and he
With the
goes into
helmet on.
VP's office.
I'm telling you, there is something going on in this White House. They all, the White Houses are like this.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like each other,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
fighting for position.
Yeah.
It is the worst possible thing you could have done to Kamala Harris. Is okay. I've now screwed everything up because I've stopped Remain in Mexico. I've opened the border. I've told everyone to come. I've printed out the shirts with the Biden logo on it as everyone come Guatemala comes up, and now we're going to have Kamala. And if Kamala, what is the one thing she did in Guatemala that actually sort of made sense? When she got in front of a camera and said, "Don't come, we'll send you back, don't come." And now AOC is pissed off at her for doing that. It's a no-win situation. Whoever suggested Kamala is in charge of the border hates Kamala Harris.
And she's got horrible issues, I think, with her communication strategy. I feel so bad for her that I'm even willing for her staff to hire me so I can help her out.
Would you?
I think
she needs
desperate.
someone.
She needs help on how to answer questions.
This is how bad Kamala Harris is. She made Lester Holt look like the toughest interviewer you'll ever see on television.
He made him look like Sean Hannity.
Lester, we love you. You got a really big forehead, but I don't think you're that good of an interviewer.
Can we just on a serious note, Larry, I need you serious for 2 minutes here.
Yes.
So the Washington Times article came out with an exclusive piece on how a migrant smuggler, Victoria Perez is her name, made $200,000 in 10 months, working 2 days a week. So she would charge the illegal immigrant $1,500 per person. I mean, making a killing to literally show this easy route to get into the United States.
Right. So if I'm Jen Psaki right now, I'm putting that in my talking point saying, see, the Biden economy is working. We've created jobs. We've built wealth. Here's a woman who went from poverty and now she's making 6 figures. Human smuggling, sure, but I mean, Biden did that. So there's a success story.
Jobs for Biden. For the Biden administration.
And by the way, those
smugglers are the ones that are winning.
Migrant smugglers? That's infrastructure, baby, right there.
Yeah, your infrastructure too, Larry.
Thank you.
Larry O'Connor, our wonderful radio host for WMAL.
I was told there would be vodka.
And you work for Town Hall as well. The vodka's on here. We'll get them in the CPAC Texas mugs that will.
Ooh,
you
tequila.
Can go have. Yes. Thanks so much.
I can't find Larry.
I sent him back.
Where is Larry?
I sent him back to Washington.
Okay, that's good, because this is my set, Larry.
Oh, boy.
But sometimes I get to go to your set. But actually, Larry is such a great friend to CPAC. He is so funny. He does such a great job every year at the Reagan dinner. We hope that he'll be with us in CPAC Dallas. We're trying to see if that can work in his schedule.
It's gonna work.
He just had his radio show change. He's back on in the morning, which makes me really happy because it's a great time to hear what's going on in the world. And as you know, we had this great event at our house.
Right.
We've showed different clips from it in the last few shows, and we had a great person that's going to be on next who is a new congresswoman from Colorado. She is like beloved by the whole conservative movement.
Guns a-blazing with her.
Literally guns a-blazing.
I know,
She's
she's
so
really
much guns
remarkable.
a-blazing that like when she announced, people are like, she's awesome, but she's out there on her social media, and I follow her on social media,
She's
and I love it.
fantastic,
It's awesome.
yes.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who is voting great in Congress. You don't have to worry about her, and we had a chance to sit down and talk with her.
And she'll be at CPAC Dallas.
Of course, she's going to be there. She wouldn't miss it.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining us today on CPAC Now. So, want to get your opinion about President Biden in his first 130 days in office. Give us a rating for him.
Ooh, am I allowed to go negative? I can't think of a number on the positive scale to rate Biden and his regime. I mean, who's better off really after 130 days of the Biden regime? Certainly not construction workers who are trying to buy wood to build houses. Certainly not our children who are still at home and not able to go to school. Certainly not American small businesses who have been struggling to reopen. I'll tell you who is better off though. China, Russia, they're doing pretty darn good. While we are having an energy crisis in America, Biden is patting his buddy Putin on the back and favoring his pipelines over ours. He's shut down American energy and the production of it. I have a bill to reverse his executive orders, shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline and banning federal leases for oil and gas in America. And then, of course, the moratoriums that really hinder us producing these incredible resources that we have right here in America. We need to be producing American resources, creating American jobs. So if you ask how he's doing, not so well. China's doing great, and it's really interesting to have a president of the United States that's actually made in China.
looks really good.
That was great.
That was really good.
Thanks.
I love the energy.
Now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start back up again, and I'm going to ask you, who is co-signing or helping you to put this new legislation? Okay?
All right.
Ready?
Yep.
In 5, 4, 3, 2. You mentioned that you have, you're working on some new legislation. Who's working on that bill with you?
Yeah, so Congressman Chip Roy out of Texas has actually helped me with my bill. It's H.R. 859. It's Protecting American Energy Jobs Act. And he has taken my bill and he has created a discharge petition so we can actually get House members to sign on to this petition and force the Democrats to allow us to vote on this. Unfortunately, in the House of Representatives, with the Democrats having the majority, there's no such thing as unity and there's no such thing as bipartisan. So we have to force their hand to even allow us to vote on a Republican piece of legislation. But I am hopeful that we will get to 218 signatures and be able to have a vote on this. The people back home who sent us here deserve to have a voice in Congress. So I'm grateful for Congressman Chip Roy and helping use one of the few tools that we have in the minority to get this to the floor.
Well, speaking of the majority in the House, what's your prediction for 2022? Do you think that Republicans have a strong chance of taking back the House and the Senate?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything is ours to win. America is seeing what Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are doing. Their cards are completely exposed. Look at what's happened to women's sports in America. Who would have thought that they would have gone after women and sports? And we're not talking about 8-year-old soccer here. We're talking about post-puberty sports. We're talking about girls who have spent their lives developing skills in hopes to get a scholarship, and now they have to be worried about being outplayed by a boy. We're talking about girls who are getting their skulls broken in the MMA ring by a man who says that he is a woman. We're talking about men in our girls' locker rooms and bathrooms. This is absolutely absurd that this is where we have got to. And suburban women get it. Americans get it. They see how far the Democrats are going, and they're not putting up with this anymore. So if they keep this up, certainly we are going to have a landslide in the House of Representatives, and we're taking back the Senate too.
Yeah, the whole women's sports thing is just outrageous. As a mom, I just, regardless of your political affiliation, I mean, common sense is just common sense.
Yes.
So the left is trying to silence or cancel, or some people feel that the left is trying to silence or cancel a lot of conservative activists, a lot of grassroots activists. What's your message to those people to keep them energized, to encourage them to continue on? Because without their work, without their influence, it's going to be very hard to take back anything in 2022.
Yes, well, I hope that these grassroots activists are looking to people like myself who aren't afraid of the cancel mob and refuse to bow down to the cancel. Do you want me to keep going? So sorry.
Restart that again.
Yeah.
Restart with the question, please.
Yeah. Hold on just a second.
Got it.
Okay. Let's see. Going back to the question, what is your advice to grassroots activists who feel discouraged during this time to mobilize them and to convince them to fight on?
So my message to these grassroots activists is to not lose hope. There are fighters who are standing their ground. Look at my friends in the House Freedom Caucus, like Chairman Andy Biggs and Jim Jordan. There are many of us who are fighting and taking the lead on these issues, and we refuse to bow down to the cancel mob. There is a very real cancel culture that's taking place, and I want to encourage everyone at home not to be afraid of that. You have people who are standing in the gap and who are here to defend the people back home. We're okay with whatever arrows get slung our way because we know who and what we are standing for. We are fighting for the American dream. Our children and our children's children depend on it. So any frustration that the people at home are feeling, use that to motivate yourself. That's exactly why I'm here. It wasn't enough for me to sit at home and complain about what I saw going on. I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I encourage people to get involved on every area, in every area. Go to your school board meetings and let your voice be heard. Go and talk with your mayors and your county commissioners and get involved with candidates who you can believe in and trust in that will actually take this America First agenda and run with it.
Well, that was a great interview with the Congresswoman, and I have to say she's very impressive, and
She
she's
is.
definitely a rising star in the Republican Party and in the conservative movement. But someone who has been also an important part of the conservative movement, very vocal, just a great personality as well.
We had the Lauren Boebert, now we have the Sebastian Gorka. If you put them together,
That's right. So let's share with you our interview with radio and television host Sebastian Gorka, who now has his own show on Newsmax on Sundays.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on CPAC Now. We really appreciate your time. I'm a huge fan. I've always been a huge fan of yours. I was wondering if you would take the time to rate the Biden administration for us in this first 130 days. And I know that you're a foreign policy expert. You know, what do you have to say about his performance thus far?
Well, it took Jimmy Carter 4 years to destroy the economy and get us gas lines at the pumps. Joe Biden has done it in 120 days. It's an unmitigated disaster. Whether it is 43% of the eastern seaboard's gas supply being shut off by Russian cyber hackers, which, by the way, does not happen without the acquiescence of the Kremlin. The idea that, oh, it was just some random group of Russian hackers without Putin saying to them, go guys, do it, is absolutely absurd. Whether it is thousands, literally 3,000 rockets being fired by Hamas, by the Palestinians against our closest allies in the Middle East, in Israel, or whether perhaps the one that, if you're not into foreign policy like I am, the one that should be most concerning to all Americans, that we have seen 6,000 illegal immigrants cross the border every single day. We have seen the numbers for illegal crossings reach a 20-year high. 500 children a day crossing the border, the cartels making out like bandits. It is hard to even compare it with any other administration, because wherever you look, domestically, externally, the jobs figures, it's worse than an F. If we had a Z grade, it would be a Z grade.
Wow. You brought up Hamas. Of course, the alleged ceasefire was announced today. But do you see that as a win for the Palestinians, this ceasefire?
The Palestinians have wins when they can exploit the fact that they put their munitions, their rocket launchers in civilian areas, next to hospitals, in the same buildings as media, or in private homes, so that they can then show photographs of civilian buildings being blown up or civilians being hurt. They are so callous, so ruthless, that for them there's only two types of victory for Hamas, which, let's not forget, is funded and supported by one of the most dangerous regimes in the world, by the Iranians, and is secondly, they say in their founding charter in 1982, Hamas admits, we are an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a theocratic terrorist entity. So for them, there's two wins. At the tactical level, exploiting tragedy for further recruitment, and secondly, the destruction of Israel. That would be the only victory. As many have said, wiser than I, if the Palestinians laid down their weapons, there would be peace. If the Israelis laid down their weapons, there would be another Holocaust and another genocide. That's the sad truth about the Middle East and the divergence of objectives on both sides.
Talk to us about the sad truth about the state of our country right now. We have grassroots activists who are, conservative grassroots activists who are very discouraged right now. Mm-hmm. What's an encouraging word from you, Mr. Gorka, to those folks to encourage them to keep on fighting? Because without them, all is lost.
Look, I see this on the comments on my social media. I try and read as many of them as I can. I see it with the callers who call into my radio show, America First, that especially after November, there was this sentiment for many conservatives that it's over, I'm done, the country's lost. First thing I say, and if you take this personally, good. If you've given up, you're not an American. I chose this country. I wasn't blessed to be born here. I am a legal immigrant, and I came here with my family because this is the greatest nation on God's earth. If you give up on this, the greatest experiment in democracy, you don't deserve to call yourself an American. The founding fathers went up against the greatest empire the world has ever seen. Forget the Persians, forget the Roman Empire, the British Empire. Literally, the sun did not set on the British Empire. It was so large. And we went up against it. And it's not, forget those stickers with 3%. Latest historical research states that it was maybe 2 or perhaps as low as 1% of the colonists who actually fought the British. Think about that. It wasn't 50%, 1% actually fought and won. So if you're prepared to give up because of a stolen election, you've got to reassess your commitment to America. Secondly, take faith, take a solace in the fact that you are one of more than 74 million Americans. Donald Trump, 2 facts we mustn't forget. After 4 years of incessant libel and calumny, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where they started off saying he's a misogynist, he's a racist, he's a white supremacist, and then actually calling him a Nazi for 4 years from the Democrats, from the lying legacy media. Donald Trump actually added almost 12 million votes after 4 years of lying. Not only that, he received more votes than any incumbent president in history. From Washington to Obama, nobody got as many votes as Donald Trump. So we mustn't give up. We must have fortitude. And I'll just, give one example. A 10-year-old child in Martin County, Florida, stood up to the fascistic COVID lockdown, Fauci mask mandates at a school board meeting in a video that went viral 2 days ago. If a 10-year-old child can show as much gumption as our founding fathers, then I'm sorry, you have no excuse.
What do you think our prospects are for taking back the House and Senate in 2022?
One of the wisest political minds in America, a man I respect immensely, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, made a statement maybe 6-7 weeks ago where he said, do you know why the Democrats are so insanely out of control? Whether it's the trillions of dollars of pork, whether it's the attempt to gerrymander districts, pack the Supreme Court, get rid of border controls, because they know they are in for the shellacking of their lives next year, and that we are going to take back the House and the Senate. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of election integrity. The fact that in the 4 key battleground states, President Trump was winning at the beginning of the vote count, when they stopped the vote count for no apparent reason, and then magically 6 hours later restarted it, the winning was reversed to a Biden victory. The fact that that happened in 4 states where the GOP held the state legislature is an outrage, is an utter failure of the institutional Republican Party at the state level. We have to fix that. We have to fight for that. I've joined with the president's former attorney, Jenna Ellis, in an election integrity commission, a national alliance to fight to clean up the election system that Nancy Pelosi is trying to federalize with H.R. 1. So if we do our homework in the next 6 to 9 months, I think they will be trounced in the House and the Senate, and then I give it a more than 90% likelihood that my old boss, Donald Trump, will run again for 2024, and then we'll make America great again.
It's not just what Sebastian says, it's how he says it. He is obviously a Hungarian American. He would say an American who used to be from Hungary. His family has an amazing story fighting communism. His dad was a real hero, and Sebastian's a real hero as we're in this fight to save America from the evils of socialism, which always leads to the boot of government and communism. And speaking of that, We have our own different forms of authority in this country, including from corporate America.
That's right.
And we've sent out a lot of letters, as you know. We've had very good responses to those letters. I do think corporate America is calming down. I think they're moving a little bit away from woke America. But the left is going to keep pushing them to do all of these, take all of these crazy and un-American positions. And so the conservative side of the debate has to push equally as hard, probably even harder. So we're not letting up. Even though Coca-Cola fired their GC, which is great, and has moved back from some of these policies, we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to be having some more letters to announce to you. The idea of sending your white employees to their own kind of indoctrination camp for their white privilege, this is going on in America, and it's wrong.
Re-education camps, which is what they're trying to do.
And then once it happens in corporate America, it starts to happening in all of our schools. So all of us who are raising kids have all those same issues. So we got to pull this cancer out of society. Look, I drove by, we had one of our graduations, and I drove by a memorial I actually haven't gone to, and I'm going to go to it. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. I remember seeing all the great pictures and watching as it was dedicated. And I used to run by there when I used to live down there.
You used to run?
I used to run. And here's the thing. It was probably too many conservatives even criticized Martin Luther King Jr. at the time. Can you imagine his words being implemented today? It would heal our country.
Yeah.
He was a man of faith. He didn't want to get rid of churches. He wanted to build more churches. He didn't want to get rid of black families. He wanted them to prosper. And he wanted whites, blacks, browns, the whole rainbow to get along because we would treat each other as decent, fellow citizens.
That's right.
And we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that fast.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Love one another. It's a pretty simple
As you,
way to
yeah,
do this.
and treat someone else as you want to be treated. How about the golden rule?
That's right.
We need a monument to the golden rule. We've lost it. Lost decency. So anyway, that's my prayer for our country, is that we'll remember the great words and the vision of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we appreciate you joining us on CPAC Now. Pray for America and fight to preserve her freedoms.